Definitely no introduction needed for the legendary aviation company, Boeing. Today, Boeing is very well known for manufacturing aerospace components and has been linked to a lot of good and bad, but mostly bad reports. We are about to delve into the very disturbing story of how Boeing got to where they are today. The story of Boeing begins with William Edward Boeing, an American lumber entrepreneur. He was wealthy, a Yale graduate, he pretty much had it all going for him. In 1909, William Boeing saw an airplane for the first time and found it intriguing, which caused him to buy the Heath shipyard in 1910 in the hopes of turning it into his own airplane manufacturing company. In 1915, William Boeing learned to fly from aviation pioneer Glenn Luther Martin. Boeing got the idea to build his own plane after the flying birdcage seaplane he originally bought crashed during test flight and would take months to repair. Boeing pitched his idea to his friend who was a United States Navy engineer, George Conrad Westervelt, and they both worked on the B&W seaplane with some help from another engineer named Wong Tsu. They completed 2 B&Ws with a good supply of spruce wood. Finally, on the 15th of June 1915, the B&W had its first test flight, and on the same day in 1916, Boeing incorporated his airplane manufacturing business as Pacific Aero Products Co. These B&Ws were offered to the United States Navy, but got rejected. After the United States declared war on Germany on the 6th of April 1917, on the 26th of April 1917, William Boeing changed the name of his company to Boeing Airplane Company. The Boeing Airplane Company's head engineer, Wong Tsu, manufactured the Boeing Model 2, which was the first successful model. During the war, Boeing knew the Navy needed seaplanes, so they shipped 2 Model 2S to them. The Navy loved the Boeing Model 2S and ordered 50 more. The company's success was very much attributed to Wong Tsu's engineering brilliance. Now, Boeing had a pretty epic and amazing start, but things would tend to go downhill for them from time to time, and we are going to be looking at most of them, starting with the Boeing 737. The Boeing 737 has quite the number of crises to its name, 529 to be exact. In the 1970s, United Airlines Flight 611 in the first Boeing 737 crash reported was on the 19th of July, 1970, and was actually a non-fatal one as the captain noticed a loud bang before takeoff and wasted no time aborting it. The 737 immediately ran off the runway and landed in a field. The next day, a 737 named D. Able collided with a Piper PA-28 and killed 3 occupants. This was the first fatal 737 air disaster. There were a lot of 737 air disasters, but the largest came from the 737 MAX models. The Boeing 737 MAX models are the most popular for all the wrong reasons. On the 29th of October, 2018, a local flight in Indonesia from Jakarta to Pangkal Pinang, the 737 MAX 8 crashed into the sea just 13 minutes after takeoff. A total of 189 cabin crew members and passengers on board all lost their lives. One of the most shocking 737 MAX air disasters was on March 10, 2019, when a 4-month-old 737 MAX 8 on a flight from Addis Ababa, Ethiopia to Nairobi, Kenya crashed just 6 minutes after it took off, and 160 passengers and crew members lost their lives. This attracted the attention of a lot of aviation authorities all over the world, and they all decided that the Boeing 737 MAX series should be grounded. The Federal Aviation Administration reversed their decision on the 737 MAX being safe to fly. The Boeing 737 saw the loss of over 5,000 lives in its 529 air disaster. Besides their air disasters and provision of seaplanes in World War I, Boeing were also very much involved in World War II. Aviation was a big part of the war, and Boeing arguably played the biggest role amongst other aviation companies in the Second World War. Boeing supplied the United States Army with almost 100,000 aircrafts and even had to employ over 50,000 employees to achieve this. Boeing is most famous for developing the B-17, also known as the Flying Fortress. The Flying Fortress was a fast, high-flying, and heavy bombing aircraft developed for the United States Army Air Corps. The B-17 dropped more bombs in World War II than any other, and it became the 3rd most produced bomber of all time. Over the course of the war, the B-17 dropped over 640,000 tons of bombs over the Pacific War with Japan and Germany. Boeing attempted to secure a $23 billion contract with the United States Air Force for a lease and purchase of the 100 KCC 767 aviation refueling tankers. Boeing engaged in unethical practices to secure the contract, as former Air Force procurement officer Darlene Druyan admitted to inflating the price to favor Boeing and herself in the process. This led to the resignation of Boeing's chief financial officer Michael Sears, who was very much associated, and the imprisonment of Darlene Druyan. That wasn't the last time Boeing faced investigation from the United States government, as in 2021, the United States Security and Exchange Commission looked into Boeing for completely misleading investors on the safety of the 737 MAX. The Security and Exchange Commission charged Boeing along with their head of operations Dennis Muilenburg for allegedly making misleading statements on their two major 737 MAX crashes publicly. Apparently, Dennis Muilenburg was aware of a key flight control system that posed a safety issue, yet he proudly assured investors that the 737 MAX was as safe as can be and imminently resulted in the loss of lives. Dennis Muilenburg was fined a total of $1 million and Boeing were fined a total of $200 million. Once again, Boeing succeeded in tarnishing the little honesty and integrity they had to their name. This was critical since it was a safety issue. Some employees also revealed they were pressured to the 737 MAX production targets at the expense of proper testing and product quality. Boeing has also faced lawsuits concerning environmental pollution. Now, this isn't just from their planes, but the manufacturing processes for their aerospace and aircraft components requires the use of hazardous materials and chemicals. The communication near Boeing's manufacturing companies have reportedly faced health issues and environmental damage, which caused them to file lawsuits. This caused Boeing to make a claim of investing in cleaner and more sustainable practices, but that means nothing given their integrity record. Another way Boeing has failed to honor deals is their constant cost overrun. The Boeing 787, also known as the Dreamliner, was the fastest selling plane ever in the commercial aviation industry. However, the production was horrible. It experienced a production delay of over 40 months. The Dreamliner was originally scheduled for its first flight in 2007, but didn't get its first delivery made until 2011. Well over 3 years behind schedule, and these delays amounted to a cost overrun of over $30 billion. The delays were attributed to several factors, including supply chain issues, the use of new composite materials, and problems with parts quality. Boeing once again disappointed the United States Air Force with the KC-46 Pegasus. The KC-46 was an aerial military refueling tanker, which was initially expected to be delivered by Boeing in 2017. The KC-46 didn't reach the United States Air Force until 2019, reason claimed by Boeing being some technical problems, including issues with the refueling boom, cargo locks, and software glitches. This earned Boeing a cost overrun of $5 billion since the initially agreed contract was one of a fixed payment. It eventually got delivered in late 2023. Apparently, Boeing also succeeded in delaying the International Space Station. Boeing's Starliner spacecraft was designed to transport astronauts to the International Space Station, but this particular project encountered a lot of delays and cost overruns. The first crewed flight of the Starliner has been repeatedly postponed. An uncrewed test flight in December 2019 failed to reach the International Space Station due to software issues, which further delayed the program. These delays were also attributed to technical problems and hardware malfunction. The National Aeronautics and Space Administration, NASA, has very stringent safety requirements which Boeing has still currently failed to meet, leaving 2 astronauts who were supposed to make an 8-day trip stuck in space for 8 months. Ever since World War II, Boeing really set the world record for most shortcomings. They aren't trusted by the United States government or even the National Aeronautics and Space Administration.